Well, it was fun while it lasted. And that was thinking that the Bulls had turned the corner or started to turn the corner. The Bulls dropped an absolute bad game to the Washington Wizards that were missing Porzingis and Bradley Beal. And Zach LaVine, even though he carried this team and didn't get much help throughout most of the game, makes one of the worst last-second shot decisions I've ever seen. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans, so we had a nice run, right? It was the Bulls were playing better basketball, and let's not act like it's over yet. It's still 40 games left on the season, more than enough time, especially with the Bulls having the worst record in the NBA, to really turn things around. But that is, I said worst record, it's one of the easiest schedules remaining in the NBA. But that's where some of the concern comes in at, right? It's almost like we'd rather have the Bulls have a difficult schedule because they show up against the top teams in the Eastern Conference. But this team continues to drop games to below 500 teams, which they're also below 500 team, but just in embarrassing and mind-boggling ways. This game against the Washington Wizards, Zach LaVine plays a pretty damn good game. 38 points in this game. Just completely carrying the Bulls for long stretches of this game, getting some help at times from Vooch, some help from Kobe White at times, but everything else was basically a net negative. No one showed up to help Zach LaVine in this game. And that's one of the biggest concerns, right? Is that as much as we can talk about how the players called Zach out after the Timberwolves game and all that's fine and dandy, Zach after this game deserved to call everybody else out because nobody showed up to help him. Nobody showed up to help him. The Bulls, who shot over 55% in the first half of the game, shooting 46% overall from the field, with Patrick Williams going 3 for 8. Vooch going 7 for 14, not that bad. Alex Caruso 3 for 11. Ayo Dosunmu 4 for 6. Derrick Jones Jr. 2 for 3. Andre Drummond couldn't stay on the goddamn basketball court, getting 4 fouls in 2.5 minutes. Kobe White 5 for 11 in the game. Nobody showed up to help Zach LaVine in this game, and he gave a pretty damn good performance. Last second shot aside, and we'll get into that one. This team should not have lost a game to the Washington Wizards without Bradley Beal, without Kristaps Porzingis, without Daniel Gafford. Nikola Vucevic should have been able to feast in this game, but no. No. We got Denny, who gets 20 rebounds in this game. 20 rebounds. The Chicago Bulls only had 39 as a team. The Washington Wizards winning the rebounding battle 52-39. That's not acceptable for a team that didn't really have many players over the height of 6'9", and we had Andre Drummond and Nikola Vucevic available in this game. That is unacceptable. There's no excuse for that. And then Gil showing up 18, didn't even know who the hell Gil was before this game. Anthony Gill, shout out to him. An undrafted player in his second year, scores 18 points. You know how much he scored the whole month total prior to this? 19. The Bulls continue to allow role players to go off against them, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense. In every step that we see from this team, and we think, hey, this is when the team can turn around. This is how they can turn their season around. This is the level of play that we need. They give a game like this, and yes, we were missing DeMar DeRozan. I understand that. But that was not an excuse to lose to this Washington Wizards team. It just wasn't. There's no excuse for it. And Zach LaVine, to his credit, should have had like 8 assists in this game. He finishes the game with only 2 assists because nobody else could hit a damn shot. And that is problematic for this team, and a team that we're hoping can eventually get above 500. It's probably not happening. This team is destined at best to probably be a play-in team, and it sucks that we're proving the analysts right. And very well, I could eat these words in a week. We can see the Chicago Bulls go on a tear to come out of the second half of January, especially after the Paris game against Detroit. We don't know what's going to happen. But giving games like this, you think the Bulls continue to find new ways to hit rock bottom. And it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. Patrick Williams is back to passive P in a game without DeMar DeRozan. So often we've talked about Patrick Williams needing more shot attempts, needing that. He still gets his usual 8 shot attempts. He doesn't look like he tried to even be aggressive at all, missing wide open shots, doing some solid things on defense against Kuzma. I'll give him that, right? He played solidly against Kuzma. Then when Gill started getting hot, he rotated on Gill. I don't think Gill scored another point after Patrick Williams started guarding him every possession. But at the end of the day, that's not enough. Not in a game where we just needed somebody to step up and help out Zach LaVine, and we did not get that at all. That is the most problematic thing about this team and about this loss is nobody stepped up. And I know a lot of people talking about Alex Caruso shooting. Alex Caruso is actually having better shooting splits than his career averages. He's just not that type of player. He's forced into that role for this team for us to rely on the shooting, but we should not have to rely on the shooting. We have a 40% three-point shooter in Patrick Williams. We should have been able to rely on Patrick Williams this game. He's the player that should have stepped up in this game with the absence of DeMar DeRozan. And I know in the postgame show, and I'm still maintaining this, it's difficult to ask a player to step up big time for you when you don't cultivate those skills day to day and game to game. When you don't do that, it's problematic, right? You can't avoid developing skill sets in players and then expect them to step up when the lights are on if you're not building them up. And again, every player needs motivation differently. Some players, you have to build up their confidence. We've seen from Patrick Williams, when you have plays called for him, it builds his confidence. He's much more engaged on the offensive end throughout the game if you do that. But even then, I'm only throwing Patrick Williams so much bell on this one because he did not step up in any type of meaningful way. Even if he didn't get any calls played for him, let's say he didn't get nothing about this game changes. You go 3 for 8, in which if you would have just hit 2 more of those shots, the Bulls win this game. Just 2 more of those shots, the Bulls win this game. That's the type of impact we need from Patrick Williams. He just needs to hit his damn shots. If you're not going to be aggressive, if they're not going to call plays for you, when you get the damn opportunity, hit the shots. You didn't hit the shots. Alex Caruso don't get off on this one either. 3 for 11. If he hits 2 of those shots and goes 5 for 11, the Bulls win this game. Io DeSumo 4 for 6. But again, if you actually watch the game, Io was just as passive P. We got to get this shit together. And you know what? I got to stop saying it. I got to stop saying we got to get it together. This team probably isn't going to get it together. I'm starting to question if this team even really wants to make the playoffs. But Zach LaVine on that last-minute shot, because I don't want to overlook that. So the Bulls were down by 3 after Zach LaVine hits a great 3 to tie the game. Looks like the Bulls may go over to overtime. They go down. They hit a big shot. The Washington Wizards do to go up. Kyle Kuzma hits a big 3 to put them up in the game. We come down. We have enough time to run a play. And Zach LaVine takes a mid-range or tries to get to them. He doesn't even actually take the shot. Now, reportedly the ref, and don't be surprised if the last 2-minute report comes out that Zach LaVine was fouled on that one. But even then, that's 2 points. That's 2 points. That was one of the worst last-second shots I've ever seen in my life. And Billy Donovan came out, and I'm glad Billy Donovan did this, saying that, listen, the play was called for a 3. So basically, Zach went rogue, and it did not work out. Those are those basketball IQ things that we continually see from Zach LaVine. He had a great impact in the game, leading the team, trying to set up his other players. I'll give him all of that. But when the lights were on, after hitting a big shot, I do want to give him credit for that. He hit a big shot to tie the game. But when you had a chance to tie the game again, to send the game into overtime, to put this team on your back, you made a very low basketball IQ decision that Zach LaVine made in this game. And it's losses like this are more frustrating than losses. Like the loss against Boston was cool. It is what it is. The Bulls played with some heart down the stretch. It hurts. And when you look at this team, when you look at Billy Donovan, and I've said this, right? The role of an offensive scheme is to get the team open shots. We had tons of wide open shots in this game that just went down. That did not go down for the Bulls. And that's what caused the Bulls this game. They did not hit their open shots. The Bulls hit their open, hit 50% of your open shots, you win this game. So even though I have some issues with Billy Donovan's offense overall, the offense generated open shots for the players today, and they didn't hit the damn shot. That's problematic. Nobody stepping up to help Zach. That's problematic. And like I said earlier, I got to start questioning if this team even really wants to make the playoffs. I got to start questioning. We hear them say the raw shit. Everybody says all the right things after losses like this, but we don't see any type of meaningful, let me not say we don't see it, over the last 10 games or so, we've seen some change. But all that change does not matter if against an inferior team, missing their top 2 players, you cannot win this game. That's a problem. That's a problem. And so, listen, the Bulls, yes, they have the easiest schedule, but as I said before, I don't even know if that's a positive for the Chicago Bulls team. I don't even know if I can say that because the team is losing against teams that are sub 500. So if you tell me they got one of the easiest schedules remaining in the NBA, that sounds like that's a recipe for fucking disaster for this version of the Chicago Bulls. You can't just take these things for granted that, oh, well, we have an easy schedule. It means we're going to turn it around. Because listen, you ain't shown us that. You have not shown us any type of ability to trust that you're going to beat the teams that you're quote unquote better than. You haven't done it. And until the Chicago Bulls do that consistently and show up and we get some help from these role players, I don't even know what to say. And this loss is naturally asked on top of losing Javonte Green and things. We've heard now that maybe AK and Eversley are going to be maybe a little bit more aggressive about adding to this team at the trade deadline than what we thought. The blow it all up is not happening. The trading one of the big 3 is probably not happening. So let's just go ahead and temper those expectations. But if the Bulls are focused on adding talent to this team, be it a Jared Vanderbilt, be it whatever, whoever you got on your list, to do a type of trade and to do that, if the Bulls are going to look to add to this team and not really take away any meaningful talent, it's going to have to come via using that Portland pick. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or go down. I have no idea. I wish I had a crystal ball to see what AK and Eversley were planning for this team. They've been awfully quiet while this team has struggled. Now, again, I will say this, during the season, you really don't hear a lot from GMs and presidents of basketball operations. You just usually don't. But with this team bleeding the way that they are, this team struggling the way that they are, it would be real nice to know what AK and Eversley have planned for this team and not hear it through second and third sources. Matter of fact, I don't even want to hear it. We need to see it. We are less than a month away from the trade deadline, and your team, this bet on continuity that you did, has not worked to the level that you thought it was. Even if you want to look at the better record now against the top teams in our conference, okay, cool. You're able to beat the better teams, and you're going to possibly miss out on the playoffs because you couldn't beat the bad teams in the NBA. That's more embarrassing to me. That is way more embarrassing than stumbling into the playoffs as what were we, the 6th seed last season, whatever we were? Losing to the better teams in the Eastern Conference, we stumbled into that. I'll take that over missing or being a playing team, and we can't beat the sub 500 teams in the NBA. So we also have to hold AK and Eversley accountable. Listen, you did a bet on continuity. I understood the bet. You did a bet on hoping Patrick Williams, somebody was going to make a leap. It didn't happen to the degree that you wanted it to. I have some theories on why it didn't happen, including some of the coaching things, just not putting these players in a spot to develop their skill, but all that is not. This is where we are. Regardless of whatever got us here, this is where we are. And until we see something from the front office that they are concerned about fixing this, we heard Zach and DeMar are untouchable. All right, cool. I don't think that DeMar should be untouchable. And to a degree, I don't think Zach should be untouchable if the right deal presents itself. I don't think you should be going out actively trying to shop Zach LaVine. But at this point, with where we are, with the talent on this team as best constructed, no matter what you do, unless AK and Eversley pull something crazy out of their hats, and Patrick Williams or Ayo Dosunmu make a considerable leap, no matter what you do, this team, as currently constructed, as its core, at best, at absolute best, is still a bottom-tier playoff team in the Eastern Conference. That's at the absolute best. If the Bulls play their best brand of basketball from here until the end of the season, you're still, at best, a lower-tier team in the Eastern Conference. Now, that does mean you could avoid the play-in. Cool, you avoid the play-in. What's next? How far are you going? Something needs to start giving when it comes to the Chicago Bulls team. And shout out to Zach LaVine for turning this season around. He has drastically improved his play overall. Basketball IQ, things aside, we got the old Zach LaVine back. Now we add DeMar back to that. This team is probably going to start winning some games and stringing some more wins together, having more of those 3-4 game winning streaks and then a couple of losses. They're probably going to do that more on the back half of the season. I can see that happening quite a bit for the Chicago Bulls team. But at the end of the day, it's this. You said, not even AK and Eversley, Arturas Karnisovas set the standard when he said that the city of Chicago deserves a championship team, when he talked about the history of this city and what the Chicago Bulls mean to this city. You set that expectation, and you are not living up to your own expectations. You can't say that this city deserves a championship team, and then you sit there and you don't try to do everything that you can do to improve this roster. And again, I'm not to blow it all up. I'm not saying blow it all up. A retool could get you there, but you need to do a heavy retool. You need to take a look and an evaluation of everything on this team and look at what assets you can get back or what players that you want to go out and target, whether it be in free agency, whether it be in the draft, whether it be in whatever. And you have to add to this team in a meaningful way. The struggle Bulls got to end at some point in time, and it may not be this season. We got 40 games ahead of us, and it's probably going to be a long-ass 40 games. That's all I can say. A long and hard and tough and frustrating 40 games we have ahead of us with this Chicago Bulls team. And we'll see the way it goes. We'll see how it goes for this team. I'm frustrated. I know you guys are frustrated. Man, this is tough. This is real tough. But hey, that's on the Bulls. They need to step it up. Everybody needs to be held accountable for this loss. We have 2 games at home coming up next against OKC and the Golden State Warriors. I don't even know how to predict those. I really don't know how to predict those. It would not be surprising to me at all if the Bulls come into those games and look way better, especially if DeMar DeRozan is back. But you got to start asking yourself, what is really the future of this team? And have you built a team that is really going to do anything significant? Yeah, you built a playoff team. Cool. Hats off to you for that. But we deserve more than what we're getting from this team. That's my opinion. Before we go though today, I do want to thank everybody who was there on the pregame show that saw us get to celebrate hitting 10,000 subscribers live. I can't stress enough what you guys mean to me, man. Being able to hit the 10,000 subscriber mark in a year and a half of the channel being around is huge, and I appreciate all you guys for that. If you're listening on the podcast side, man, go and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well if you're listening on the podcast side. And if you're on the YouTube side, go and subscribe to the podcast side. Let's just subscribe everywhere as we continue to grow out this platform, man. And I say we because it truly is a we. I suck, as I always say, at promoting this podcast sometimes, and it's really your guys and your spread of your word of mouth that has really just turned this channel and this community into what it is. So I appreciate you guys for that. And we're not stopping here. We're not stopping. We're going to keep pushing for our goals. But that is it for today's episode. You can follow the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.